All right, so start from here where we were. Okay. So from here with our low poly highlighted, we want to do a few things just to clean it up and get it ready for Second Life. It's all ready. We've already at this point, typically by now you've done your unwrapping, you've done your sculpting if that is the route you're going to take. And now it's all fine-tuned, it's at how you want it to be, and Mhm. Sculpt Sculpting is what we did with the high poly, making those ridges on it, and basically you can think of mesh like clay in Blender. You can turn it into clay and sculpt it, but for now, we just wanna focus on turning this into something a little bit more consumer friendly. So we're going to go over here to the mirror modifier and hit apply. So now that both mesh are officially there. If Right, right. So we did work on this side here. As you can see, this side is the right left side as we're facing it. The left side does not have any vertices that we can play with. This one does because we still have the mirror modifier active. So once I apply it, now I have both those meshed and I can move these vertices independently of each other, but we're not going to do that. Yeah, we want it to be exactly the same. So whatever we did over here is now applied to this side. So it's a complete perfect copy in reverse. And we're not done quite yet. We want to single each horn out, and how best to do this is uh, we're going to hit the B key, which is the block selection. There's the B key or the C key. B just gives you a drag and drop block that you can select everything within that window that you created. Or C key, you can kind of highlight what you want to, or just, you know, scrub over the whole thing and pick what you want. So there's two ways to do a mass selection. Either is not wrong. So once we have one side selection selected, we're going to hit the P key, P's and Paul, and then once that pops up, we got a menu. We don't want to do anything but it's through it by hitting the P key. Right. Is it not popping up? You don't see separates selection by material, loose parts right under. Uh, Hold on. Yes, yes, it's in the viewport. You don't. You, it's right under the horn, in the viewport. Like, oh, you don't see a menu. Okay, you see the square that says separate by selection, material, loose parts. No, that's not. I'm talking about a menu that pops up. Yes, if you're hovering uh over the viewport and hit P, it'll pop up with a selection by material, by loose part, and I have no idea, but I'm just gonna hit P. Basically just follow. Right, you pick selection, like it's selection by material or by loose parts. We just want selection, which is right up at the top. Hit that, and now you have two individual horns. See how I can now drag and move them independent of each other. And from here, we now want to prepare our export. So real easy, just highlight everything with a right click, or since we have all the stuff we don't want to select hidden, you can just hit A until everything is selected. And then go to File, Export, File, Export. If you have Avastar, it's going to demand you do it through Avastar 9 times out of 10. Sometimes people will find issue trying to export their Collada file is what you need to be exporting it as. If they do the default that Blender has with an Avastar plugin activated, it might mess up your file. So if you have Avastar plugged in, you have to do the Avastar Collada export. If you don't have Avastar plugged in, it'll just let you do the regular default Collada export. So we want the it's just how the program is reading it. Like I said, there's all these bells and whistles that gets plugged in when you import and get Avastar working on your Blender. Collada is just the format in which Second Life registers a mesh file. So, right, right. That it and it's going to export as something called a DAE, but it's a Collada, it's DAE. You'll hear either one of those said or see either one of those said, but yeah, those two at the top. But if you have Avastar, you have to export with Avastar. So we're gonna export. We're gonna hit the OK, and that's it. And that now it's ready to go into Second Life. No, no, it just did it in seconds. If you have a complex piece, it might take a moment, but since we're not right, not like the baking, and again with high poly, if we were exporting that into an FBX for Substance Painter, then it might take a minute because it's more polygons that more yeah. And but again, not so long. If it is chugging on an export, something is wrong. It should not take more than like you should only be able to hum the first bar of Jeopardy, basically. um, right. So now we're gonna go into well, right now it's exported just as the file name is called, Ramshorn class 2 parentheses 1. So it exported exactly as the file name. You can change that. You can tell it to be something different. I just tried it for organization's sake. I just save it as whatever the file is called.